Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of SCZ Live. I have to admit, today we had to do some quick changes. We originally had us visiting the meerkats today, but any of you that have been outside know it's a little cold. So I decided it was a beautiful day to just take a walk through the tropics. We don't have anything scheduled or anything planned. Carter, one of our keepers, is feeding in the building, so we'll have a few opportunities for that. But other than that, we're just going to enjoy the tropics. Now, I have to admit, the tropics is one of the areas of the zoo that continually intrigues me. At one time, my goal was to learn every bird in the tropics. And as soon as I did that, most of the bird species changed. So I love the fact that every time we come into the tropics, we'll be able to see different things in the building. So again, today we're just going to walk through the tropics and see what we can see and experience some different things. Now, our Tropics Building is one of the older buildings here at the zoo, and many of you might remember just a few years ago when we had it closed for the year, renovated it by putting on this new state-of-the-art roof that allows for the UVA and the UVB light to come down into the building. Now, this light then is not only great for the birds, but it's great for the plant life. And again, you can see how beautifully all of this has grown. What was really interesting is while the building was closed, there was a time when there was no roof on the building. And during that time, it rained in here, it snowed in here, it hailed in here. So the plants in here, some of them endured all of it. Many of them we removed, however, and then brought back, as well as many of you who have helped us with the plant drives, bring in your house plants, and many of those go into the Tropics Building as well. So we're going to walk across the bridge here. And you can see here is one of our food carts. Ken Carter, one of our zookeepers, he's also a zoo science graduate with us here at Sedgwick County Zoo, has all the food set out. And is going through and feeding the animals for the day.
Yep, so the birds in this building get fed twice a day. So right now I'm about halfway through the building. So we set out trays for all the free flight birds, and then all of these bowls right here are for our birds in individual exhibits.
Carter, what's in your hands there?
So this is waterfowl diet. So we have several species of ducks in this building. Most of them like to hang out in the lagoon that's behind us. So we tend to feed around there because we know that that's where they tend to congregate.
Great, thanks. Well, we'll watch your work as we go through the building. Thank you, Carter. The great thing about this building is there's always something new to see. We're coming up to the Whitespotted River rays. Again, a really interesting animal. We generally think of rays as just living in the oceans, but here's one that's a freshwater. Let's see, Becky had a question of how long does it take to feed the birds? Let me find out. Carter, how long does it take to feed the birds each day?
It takes us usually around an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay, if you couldn't hear that, it said it's usually about an hour to an hour and a half job to go through the building and feed the birds. Thank you. So you can see we have a variety of ground-dwelling birds as well as birds that are up high in the trees. Here's a couple of them who have come over to one of those feeding stations Carter was just talking about. You can see there, and those feeding stations are throughout the building, and that allows the keepers to be able to get a better census or to be able to watch and observe the birds more. Zookeepers in this area have to really have a great eye for detail because they need to go through and be able to look at the different birds in the building and make sure that they can spot them and count them on a regular basis. You might have seen one of our first Facebook Live posts where we were highlighting the Marianas Island project that we have with animals from the Marianas Islands. Guam and Saipan are the most common. Right here we have the Guam Kingfisher that Carter's getting ready to go in with. You can see the Kingfisher is right above his head right now. It just turned its beautiful blue back to us. We've got a bleeding heart dove crossing our path in front of us. You can certainly see how they got their name if you see that beautiful red feathering on their chest, which of course he won't show us right now. Some of you might have seen us as we met the Guam Rail a few days ago. He was down in our Tropics basement saying hi to us and getting all sorts of new enrichment. Again, Guam rail are an animal that was extinct in the wild until just a few years ago, thanks to work from zoos such as Sedgwick County Zoo that have been working in Guam and Saipan to relocate those birds to islands that do not have the brown tree snake. We're looking at the crowned pigeons through the underbrush there. I don't know if you guys can hear all the birds as well, but the birds are vocalizing throughout the building. We're going to turn up and around here to the wrinkled hornbill. This happens to be the male hornbill. You can tell because of the extra notch on his bill there, and then the bright coloration around his face and neck. You can see he has some non-natural enrichment today. We try and repurpose whenever we can, and you can see there today's enrichment was a bunch of old CDs. This building was originally a building where we had areas, plants and animals from the rainforest. When we did renovate, we moved it over to the tropics, which would allow us to really show a bigger diversity. Within the tropics, you have rainforest areas, but you also have desert areas. Now we're walking down into the tunnel. One of the things that's on my list to do is to water is here in our Tropics Lake, and then compare it. I believe we might have one of the biggest aquariums in the state of Kansas. If you think of Cabela's up in Kansas City and their different areas, their different aquariums, they might just have more water in there than we do, but one of these days I'm going to figure that out. If anybody remembered when we focused on the yabbies a few days ago, we're back up and live now, folks. Sorry about that. We were in our Tropics Tunnel, and apparently there is not enough connection in the Tropics Tunnel to be able to continue to record. So it does say now that we're recording, so hopefully we are back live. Here's some of our beautiful waterfowl that are in the building. You can also see some of the ground-dwelling birds up there on the ledge. Way up moving around, you can see the sun bittern. There's one of our thick knees. some work in our Tropics cave. We are renovating that right now to bring in some different cave-dwelling invertebrates. So soon you'll be able to see more invertebrates through this area as well. Now, when we did all the renovations, one of the things that people might not notice is we also moved the path. Historically, the path was where the most sunlight was, and it seemed to make more sense to put the path along the areas above the supports in the ceiling. So now the pathway runs more along those supports than it does in areas where the plants could get the most sunlight. You can see here is one of the censusing enclosures we put in. A Nicobar pigeon there was just in one of those enclosures. What the keepers do is put them in there, so put the enclosures in here so that the birds can get used to going in and out of them for food. Once they get used to them, when it's time for us to do our censusing to find out how many birds are in the habitat, we can then go ahead and get them used to it, and they will willingly go in and out of the enclosures so that we can look at them and count them when needed. We're coming up to a Nicobar pigeon. Who's enjoying the waterfall. Again, this is a Nicobar pigeon. There's a second Nicobar right here. We're going to walk under the waterfall now. We have some of those blue-crowned pigeons here. As part of the renovations in the building, we added the handrails to make the building more ADA accessible. What I really appreciate is our graphics team. Our graphics and exhibit team came in and took these plain old, ordinary, boring handrails and fabricated them to look like branch and vine throughout the building, and I think that they really did a beautiful job. With some of the other birds, we've talked about the bands on their legs. You can see right here, this particular pigeon has a yellow band on its leg. So they very quickly would be able to tell that this was yellow 45 as an animal. And that allows us again to do that censusing through the building much easier. The Horticulture Department also does an amazing job in the building. We have one horticulturalist, Pete, who is in here full-time, just making sure that the plants stay as beautiful as they are. Now I'll turn here just slightly so that you can see some of the aquariums in the building. Here we have some silver sides and some dambas. The dambas are the bigger ones. The silver sides are the smaller, more torpedo-shaped ones. And here we have some more silver sides, as well as some killerfish and some sauroid. And a great view of the building right here. So as you're curled up on your couch or in your comfy chair today, probably still in your pajamas, is a superb starling. Know that things are still happening as normal in our Tropics building here at Sedgwick County Zoo. We'll end with a view of the Cuban crocodile. And we'll remind everybody, even though we're closed, we're still caring.